So welcome to this Distance Learning Leadership Summit. This is something I feel incredibly passionate about, and one of my colleagues who's actually in the chat said, why don't we think about doing this? And I took a leap and out of my comfort zone completely. And here today, I'm going to talk to you guys about our experiences. So this is just some background they asked me to share with you about your Zoom tools. So you can see in the corner where you have mute and unmute your participant window and the chat. I am going to ask you guys to try to chat with me a little bit, but I am having some difficulty seeing your chat. So we'll figure that out together. So this is where we're going to start. Welcome. Do you ever feel like you're trying to fly a plane while still building it in midair? You're certainly not alone. Especially now during this time of crisis, I think it's crucial that we learn and share with one another. I truly believe that we can learn right now to deal with what's happening. As a leader, we need to give ourselves permission to learn and to grow, and maybe sometimes not know how to respond and not have the answers that are needed at that time. So I'm just hoping that you guys can use the chat and put into the chat, I think there's about 16 of us, where you're from. So you could use the state that you're from and a number from 1 to 10 that represents how you're feeling today as a leader. I think it's crucial that we check in with each other. I just wish that I could see it because I can't see the chat right now. But if you guys could just take a moment, and I'm going to try to see where you're coming from and how you're feeling today. I'm going to try to model some of the things that we've been doing. So Roland, can you see if people are entering? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Awesome. Oh, we have some 5s, some 7s. 8, 5, 5, 7, 6, 8. Awesome. Delina, I hear you. Here in Canada, we're still in online learning, so Roland is still teaching every day until next Friday, if you can only imagine. Yeah, we're feeling tired, for sure. So I'm hoping today what we can do is I can chat with you a little bit about some of the things that we've done to ensure that our teachers, our staff, our students, that we continue to check in and make sure that we're prioritizing their mental health and wellness, because I think it's really, really, really crucial right now. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. So who am I? I identify as a female, she, her, and elle. We speak English and French here in my house and in the area that we're from in Canada. I'm incredibly humbled that I'm able to present information about our experience here in Canada. I think it's crucial that I explicitly state my biases, my privileges, and my inherent beliefs so that you know where I'm coming from. The school district that I work at is a fully funded Catholic school within the province of Ontario. Within our district, we have 52 elementary schools and 5 secondary schools. I'm currently an elementary vice principal. Before this, I was a secondary math and social science teacher for 15 years, and I was the religion and family life program head. I live and work in the Kitchener-Waterloo area. There's about 650,000 people in this area. This region hosts 3 universities and a degree granting college. We have Toyota Manufacturing. We're the Google of the North up here in Kitchener. We used to host BlackBerry, for any of you remember those devices. And they often call us, ironically, the Silicon Valley of Canada, where we are. So there's a lot of tech business leaders. When our borders are open and we can come visit you, we're about an hour and a half away from Buffalo, New York. So we're not necessarily a border city, but we're pretty close. We can get over pretty quickly. I was born in our nation's capital, Ottawa, and my family background is Scottish, Irish, and French. My family actually immigrated to Canada 250 years ago, so we've been here for a while. Sorry, about 150 years ago. I moved around a lot for the first 20 years of my life as my dad was in the Air Force. We were stationed all over Canada and in Germany. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Law, Sociology, and Anthropology. And before I was a teacher, I worked for a trade union. I am absolutely passionate about learning and researching in the areas of English language learners, appropriate use of technology, women in STEAM, particularly in mathematics, refining mathematics education, special education, Holocaust education, trauma-informed practices, and social emotional learning. Those are my absolute passions. My husband is a civil engineer for a local municipality. We've both been working pretty hard here at home during this time. I'm a mom of two awesome children, Alexandra, who's in her last year of industrial engineering at Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, and my son Aiden, who's in third year health sciences at Bishop's University in Quebec. One of the bonuses of this global pandemic for my family is that we are all living together again. We never thought this was going to happen. Scott and I were actually looking to downsize, and yeah, we're pretty happy that hasn't happened now. And sharing the Wi-Fi has been pretty tough, but we're getting through it. Some of the negative repercussions I'm sure some of you are dealing with is, you know, I'm not able to visit my parents. They live in Nova Scotia, and in order for me to go visit them, I have to quarantine for 2 weeks, so that's not really a viable option. My sister's a doctor, and she's working on the COVID testing floor, so I'm pretty worried about her. And my brother-in-law is a paramedic, so frontline workers, absolutely. For me right now, I've really worked hard on trying to create appropriate boundaries and not let my work define who I am. It's really important to me that I figured out how to have a regular routine and a schedule. It seems like I'm working more than ever as an administrator, and I think that's because I'm really trying to figure out what we don't know, but I know I can't do that alone. But on the flip side, I'm walking my dog a lot more. She's not happy that we're here all day. I've actually golfed more than I think I did all last summer already. We're trying to eat well and connect with nature. Part of the reason I'm here today is last week I finished my Master's of Education in Leadership and Administration with a focus of mental health. It has been pivotal for my own learning and hopefully what I bring into the school. So this has been out of my comfort zone. I present every week, but normally I do presentations about literature review, research action plans. And here I was kind of asked to think about what I've done and how I feel. So that's tough for me because although I believe that we as leaders are not alone, I really do believe we can learn from one another. I'm just not normally the one that's sharing as a newer administrator. There's a ton of people I want to thank. In particular, I had some really good critical colleagues that I respect and I admire. One is here today, but Amy, Heather, Jordan, and Roland, their ideas and their feedback to me about this presentation was crucial. But I just want to make clear that these ideas are not mine alone. There's a lot of people who were involved in helping me out and kind of bring us to where we are today. So it's hard to talk to a screen, but I'm going to give it a shot. So this is what I believe fundamentally. So as I just mentioned, I recently, last week, finished my master's, and in almost every single course, I was asked to reflect and discern and grapple with what I truly believed as an educator. As a leader, we're asked to articulate and formulate our school improvement plans, give input into our board improvement plans, provide professional development opportunities, and hopefully I lead the instructional program. In doing so, probably like most of you, I've always thought about what I believe to be true, but right now, my core values are really getting tested. And I'm really questioning why I'm doing the job that I'm doing. So when this global pandemic was announced and our lives started to get turned upside, we all had to reflect on what we believed. When this came to be, I really thought about what was important. So during this time, hopefully, I'm going to show you what I believe and how they have impacted me as a leader to prioritize wellness and social emotional learning during this pandemic. So rather than reading each one, I'll get right to it. I'm switching the slides. So hopefully one thing we can all agree on is that the way that we teach and how we learn and how we lead has changed. My hope is that we can share some of the ways that we've grown and some of the ideas and actions that we value that and has helped us to grow and to see that our mindfulness programs that we already had in existence at St. John's School and our trauma-informed approach was pivotal to where we are today. So on March 13th, where were we? The day before our March break started, the provincial government in Ontario announced on the radio that our 1 week March break was now going to be extended to 2. It's important to note, none of us as administrators had any idea this was going to happen. It was literally put out on the news, and that's how we found out. My husband and I were scheduled to go to Hawaii to celebrate my 50th birthday. Our Premier Doug said to people, go ahead with your March break plans, but plan on isolating when you come back. So off we went. We did the 21-hour journey to Honolulu. There was only 12 people on the plane that should have been hundreds. On the second day in Hawaii, our esteemed Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, announced we all needed to return. So we made our way back. It was probably the fastest trip to Hawaii in record for a Canadian. The school that I'm at, St. John's and Inner City Kitchener, we have 665 students and 85 staff. 85% of our students are newcomers to Canada, and English as a second language is the norm within our building. Most of our students are from an area in Eritrea. Eritrea is located in Eastern Africa. The Eritrean people overwhelmingly voted for independence in 1993. Unfortunately, according to the Human Rights Watch, the Eritrean government human rights record is amongst the worst in the world. The Eritrean government has dismissed all of these allegations and said that they were politically motivated. There's compulsory military service that can be for a period of up to 6.5 years. As a result of that and other issues, many Eritreans are leaving their country. All of the local media is state-owned, and Eritrea is ranked currently as having the third least press freedom in the world, only behind North Korea and Turkmenistan. So our community is currently over 200 people over capacity. So we were also under a boundary review during this time. We were jammed in. Areas that were never classrooms have become classrooms. It was absolutely unbelievable, the amount of people that we had in the building. And that's as a result of the newcomers that continue to come in. Most of our newcomers are government-sponsored newcomers. So we have a kind of a different system here in Canada. But it's really important to know that this boundary review happened in the midst of all this. So we have an additional turmoil. So as a result of all of this, Paul Gladding, the principal, and I really feel that it's crucial that we have a trauma-sensitive or a trauma-informed approach to how we do everything. We look at this as a process, not necessarily a program. We place value and we respect the people who are in our building, and we know where they're coming from. So many of our students have directly experienced this trauma and or the generations before them have. And as I've learned in my studies, trauma can last for up to approximately 3 generations. So we know that cognitive and neuroscience studies shows that traumatic stress interferes with students' memory, attention, health, and emotional stability. We also know that students who experience trauma perform worse academically and cognitively, and many teachers report inappropriate behavior. So in the last decade, trauma-sensitive approaches have been widespread throughout Canada and the United States. And these are, I think, appropriately emerging because of the research that has come out and the devastating natural and man-made disasters that have happened, the political climate that's happening. So unfortunately, I can only imagine how many of our students are further being traumatized during this time. In our community, it's imperative that we incorporate universal designs for learning. Much like an elevator or a ramp or an automatic door to the grocery store, every one of our accommodations allow for students to enter where they are. It is necessary for some and good for all. What's interesting right now during this time, we haven't had a lot of behavior issues, and as a vice principal, I'm pretty excited about that. And normally what we would see is that transitions were a problem for a lot of our students. What I'm fearful of is I'm not seeing the transitions actually happen. So I'm concerned about what some of this aftermath might be. So I truly, truly, truly believe that we have a responsibility to educate the whole child, the mind, the body, and the spirit. As I've aforementioned, I'm in a Catholic board, so my faith is super important to me, and it's something that I am able to easily share within the building, so that's great. Just trying to be cognizant of the time here too. So we're in Canada. We have snowstorms. We have snowstorms in April and in May. But when this all happened, we were getting information from everywhere. So like many administrators in the United States or in Canada, we were called to mobilize, to support, and to lead. We were getting a lot of mixed messages. And I felt that we really, really, really needed to slow down. So I actually found myself in a virtual talk with one of our English as a second language teachers, one of our other staff members, and the principal, and I just said, wow, I feel like we are trying to herd kittens in the middle of a snowstorm. And I don't feel so much like that right now, but I certainly do feel that way. Our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and our Premier, Doug Ford, they hold daily briefings. I think personally that our Director of Education, Loretta Naughton, has been having weekly team meetings with the administrators, giving us weekly updates, and she's really trying to keep us up to date. Emails are being sent, though, at all hours at the beginning, trying to get the information to us. In our building, we only had 3 teachers who had a Google Classroom or a D2L classroom. So all of a sudden, we needed to help the teachers create Google Classrooms. We needed to get out devices because the majority of our students did not have devices. So that was a huge hurdle to start with, is to get the internet devices and the availability. That's something our provincial government felt very strongly about, and our board jumped on board. So we needed to create 26 new classrooms, distribute 175 devices. It's important to know that devices were given per family, not per child. So if you can imagine, we had 175 families that required devices, and we had 40 families that requested internet hotspots. About a month into the pandemic, our IT team, they purchased 1,000 phones that they turned into hotspots. So there we are. So like I said, our board was fantastic. They got our IT department out, custodians and administrators worked together. I really recalcitrant if I don't mention one of my friends who's here right now, Roland. It's here in our city that we did the masks, the Canadian mask shields. Roland came in, got our 3D printer, and helped make hundreds of safety shields for our frontline workers. So we all really, really, really pitched in. So what was tough here is for 6 days, we had to make hundreds of phone calls with interpreters. And then we had to create a drive-through pickup for people to come. And as we figuratively were building the plane at that moment, we had no idea what emergency remote learning was going to look like. And to be honest, most of us were just hoping that we're going to be going back in April. It was absolutely imperative that we address the needs of our special education students. We have approximately 76 students in our building that have an individual education plan. And like I've mentioned, we have hundreds of English language learners. Their needs really needed to be met. I do believe that fundamentally technology helps level the playing field, but we needed to get that technology into their hands. So we started to deploy all of these assistive tech devices like Prolico2Go, iPads. We created visual schedules and made them and sent them to the kids. And we continue to modify and accommodate the learning. One of the things I'm going to talk about later is we created small working groups for our English language learners and our special education students that have been just unbelievably successful. And it's something that I hope that we continue, hopefully if we go back or in the fall. So I hope it's clear now that I truly do believe in Dwayne Reed's idea that students have to Maslow before they can bloom. So in our building, we were never worried about work completion. Our provincial government was very clear of what they expected from families. They wanted them to stay safe and to look after themselves. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a big fan of our premier. He's incredibly right-wing, and it's not something that I necessarily agree with. We were actually in the middle of a political upheaval in education when this happened, but how he's handled this right now has been fantastic. Our governments acknowledge that there are many challenges and put numerous programs into place to help families financially. I actually put a link to some of the government initiatives at the back. In these clear expectations, they talk to us about how much learning should be happening for each grade of child. So for example, if you have a child in grade kindergarten to grade 2, you should be doing 2 hours a week. If you have older children, it should be 5 hours a week. And then in high school, there was a different time as well. Our Ministry of Education then decreed that all public schools would adopt a do no harm approach. What they meant by that is that students would not be penalized for what they did or did not do during this emergency remote learning. And it was very clear to all that students' marks could not go down from where they were on March 13th. It could go up. So that was kind of interesting. So as a school that has always valued relationships and connectedness, this idea of remote learning was daunting. We did the impossible. We got out all the devices. All of our classrooms are now on D2L and or Google Classroom, and all of our support staff were redeployed within our virtual world and tasked with assisting the universal supports throughout the classroom. Paul and I are co-teachers in every single classroom. It's been super exciting for me to go into Google Meets to participate in some of the theme days. And I was able to act as an audience in literature circles, and we got to be judges for Dragon's Den. I'm not sure what you call that in the United States, but when people give you a pitch about business, our grade 8s came in. But one thing that I've been very curious about, and where some of my research will be going, is we've attempted to collect the data about engagement. So it was really difficult to ascertain what we meant by engagement. So, you know, if the students showed up, were they engaged? Or some teachers thought that they needed to actually hand something in. We had examples of kindergarten students handing in work at 2 o'clock in the morning. We are guessing that was probably the parent, not the student. There we are. So we realized it was imperative to meet people where they are, and we shifted our expectation so that we needed to connect with the students and not be concerned about the work completion. The majority of our classes have Google Meets, and these meets have really helped to continue to build our community. And our data has shown that the classes that don't have regular meets, they've not had as many students participating. So we, in according with Maslow, we really did need to make sure that our students' basic needs were met. Food insecurity is a major issue in our building. We have a program called Nutrition for Learning that I link later on. And our school last year provided the equivalent of 20,000 meals to the students. It's a program that happens in every single classroom. It's accessible to every single student. It is funded through grants and donations. So we were super worried when this happened, because the way that a lot of our kids are fed was non-existent. But immediately, Nutrition for Learning came up with a new approach, and they had a weekly food truck that would stop at the various schools that really use the program, and ours was one of them. And now Nutrition for Learning in this area has partnered with Uber. And we've been able to identify families that every week their Uber Eats is dropping off a basket of food to them. Another thing that was important for us is we have a school-based social worker. We had many referrals throughout the year. But we asked staff just to double check about if there's any students that can use some additional support. Off the hop, we had 25 referrals. Those referrals have increased, and I'm sure, like where you're from, the calls related to domestic violence have increased dramatically here in Canada. So that's been really important. So next week, we're having the students come back to collect their belongings. And I need to tell you that I'm very concerned about what we may or may not see. So I'm not able to check the chat. So Roland, if there is anything, if you can unmute and let me know, that would be super awesome. So I really do believe that parents send their best children to school every day. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, you know what, I really hope you're a terrible kid today and make that VP's life. Heck, that doesn't happen. I think that part of our trauma-informed approach is that students need to know that they're loved, and that they belong and that we care. So one of the things that we did, and I'm just going to show you a really brief clip, is we started with a staff message to the students. So I'm hoping that you can hear this, and I'm just going to play a small portion of it, and I'll leave this resource with you.
Hello, my Thunder friends. I stopped by the school today just to check on things, and it's pretty sad without you here. It's tough to see the place without your smiling faces and laughs and good times being had and great learning. So we just encourage you to stay safe, make great choices, and you know what? Enjoy this time with your family, and we hope to see you soon.
Hi, wonderful Thunder people. Just want to let you know that we're all thinking of you, praying for you, and hoping that you keep safe.
What's up, St. John's Thunder? I'm missing your smiling faces, and I can't wait until I get to see you again. But until then, I have 2 messages for you.
Hi, friends. I miss all of you. I just wanted to send this video to say that I'm thinking of you, and I can't wait to connect with you online.
Wash your hands.
Okay, so there's a brief clip. We've actually done 3 different videos, and they've been really well received. We put them out on our Twitter, and it's been fantastic. So one of the visuals I have here is I believe that a non-negotiable in the school should be that students are greeted at the door, welcomed, and called by their proper name. In our school, that's a big deal because with that many newcomers, we have a lot of names that are not familiar with our own privileged view. So that's really important. So I think that it's important that that's the first connection of the day so that students know that they belong. So I continue to wonder, and I've asked many of the staff members and my administrative colleagues, how are we doing this right now? Like during this time of remote learning, how are we connecting with students? How do they know that they belong? And how are we continuing to create a sense of community? So some of our teachers have created Google check-in forms that the students go on every morning. Some of them have created daily Google Meets. And I truly believe that when we go back to school in September, although we're not even done yet, we need to be intentional in our welcoming and inviting our school community to belong. So I was saying that really resonated with me, and I know it's something that I'm planning for September. So it's imperative that we continue to connect with these students and make those connections with kindness. Our students need to connect with each other and their teachers. And we need to connect students to the supports that they need, those academic, social, food, translation, and community services. Many of our students do not have the ideal support at home, but I truly, truly believe that our parents are trying the best that they can. We recently hosted an online Welcome to Kindergarten Google Teams meet, and 19 of our new 27 families showed up. It was super awesome that at the end of this meet, we welcomed the parents to share their screens with their primary child, and watching them, all the kids sitting up on their laps, their faces just lit up. We invited a translator to come into our virtual meet, and then we did a follow-up, so that was really important. One of the greatest things that has happened is an unintended result of connecting our education assistants to students that they wouldn't normally provide academic support for. So in my building, we have 13 EAs and 2 child and youth care workers. I'm not sure what you call them, maybe paraprofessionals or something along that line. So they're not teachers, but they're there typically to work with behavior and special needs. So academic support has not been something that they've been able to provide in the last year, given the needs. In our building, we have 20 students that are on the autism spectrum. So we spend a lot of our time with those friends. But now, in these virtual rooms, they're able to provide academic support and really use some of that PD that we've talked about universal supports. So they've been instrumental in facilitating virtual small groups, not only with our special needs students, but also with our English as a second language students. So as we're trying to monitor the student engagement, it is absolutely incredible to see our English as a second language students every single day for grade 5 and grade 7. They're going on for a 20-minute meet with their fellow classmates. We've continued to celebrate by making videos, going on virtual field trips, highlighting daily work, and we have a very exciting grade 8 graduation coming up next week. Another very cool thing that has happened, and we're super proud of our team, is that our education assistants and our child and youth care workers have really connected students specifically to resources by way of facilitating weekly lessons from our social emotional program that we have within our school. It's called Tools for Life. I put the link at the end so you can find more information. But this program was developed over 20 years ago by a mental health agency that supports the needs and well-being of all children. Our entire school has embraced this Tools for Life as a community of learners. Our students, our staff are engaged in a respectful communication that uses a common language. That was really important to us this year because we had a number of different programs, again, and something that's helped us out a lot during this time of emergency remote learning. So our school hopefully is becoming a positive place where students can safely and respectfully express their feelings and practices on how to avoid and react appropriately in their feelings. So our CYCWs, I don't even know how it happened, but we're in a meeting one day and we decided that they were going to make a Google slide deck and we were going to identify 9 different parts of Tools for Life that were important. So these lessons included things like giving put-ups to friends, your feelings, problem solving, and paying attention. So every week the CYCW shares with the classroom teacher a slide deck and there's activities within it. And then at the end of the week, our principal, Paul Gladding, sends out a tweet and we put it on our school website of parent resources so that parents can look back to that Tools for Life. So for a lot of our parents, it's an easy entry point into how they can help their students. So we use videos, stories, and activities to promote this social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, self-awareness, and self-management. An absolutely awesome thing that has happened here in our board at Waterloo Catholic is we have a homegrown organization called the Umbrella Project. This is happening in the majority of our schools and it's completely supported by our district. But here in Waterloo Region, the Umbrella Project founder, Jen Forrestel, she created a teacher-led curriculum and school-based program that was there to help students, teachers, and parents reframe our perceptions of challenges and strengthen our skills of well-being to positively cope with the everyday stresses of life. It is meant to empower our students to anticipate and prepare for life's rainy days. And I can certainly not think of more rainy days than what's happening right now. So there's 3 program pillars: positive priming, inquiry-based learning, and role modeling. I'll leave you the link so you can find out a little bit more about it. But this project has been absolutely phenomenal. And some of the umbrella skills that we have looked at have been this year, just recently, have been healthy lifestyle, optimism, empathy, growth mindset. So we are certainly glad and thrilled that we have equipped our students with their umbrellas. And we've had a lot of fun learning how to do it. But if there's a program that you ever want to take a look at, I'm going to show you a clip, then I'm going to leave you with that information. This program currently has over 15,000 students, 25,000 parents, and 2,000 educators. And as somebody who's actually used this program, I know the benefits. I'm just going to show you a brief 2-minute clip about it.
Throughout our lives, we are met with many challenges and setbacks. Much like the rain, these are aspects of our life that most people experience and we have little control over. Life isn't always sunny, and we spend a lot of energy wishing the storm clouds away, instead of properly protecting ourselves from the rain overhead. The good news is we are all equipped with an umbrella. Some are big, some are small, others have holes, or have been forgotten in our closet. But everybody's got one. Our umbrella is made of emotional and cognitive skills like gratitude, empathy, grit, purpose, and many more. These skills are shared by the happiest and most successful people and can be highly predictive of future well-being. Through using our umbrella skills, we can actually strengthen our umbrella and start to reframe the challenges we experience, downgrading what felt like a tornado to a light drizzle. All of the skills are important and work best together. For example, working hard day after day with grit is great, but with no sense of purpose is unfulfilling. As our umbrella grows, healthy habits are important to provide the strength it takes to hold it up, especially when the big storms roll through. Using our umbrella gives us the confidence to actively pursue life's opportunities, despite the weather. And after the rain, we may even find some puddles to play in. When we're young, we depend on umbrellas around us to provide protection. But as we grow and venture out on our own, we want to make sure we are using our own umbrella. Using your own umbrella is empowering. Relying on other people's umbrellas places our well-being in their hands. In really strong groups, everyone has their own umbrella. That way, when you need some extra shelter and support, there's lots to go around. Other people will use our umbrellas more just from watching us use ours. It's a ripple effect. The best way to teach the umbrella skills is to set an example by using your own.
Okay, so again, I left some information. One of the things that I'm pretty biased about this, but one of our former principals is actually now retired, and she's the educator lead. So for me, it's really crucial that somebody understands education and understands what happens within the school, is there to help. I talked to her about this presentation, and if any of you would like some more information about that project, again, the link is there, and Gloria Lasovich, who is the staff person that is now working there, she said she would be happy to answer any questions. So that leads me, I really do believe that educators want to learn. I think many of us went into teaching because we value education. But I also think it's really important that we need to care for each other and be kind to ourselves. So one of the things when this started, I'm friends with on Facebook or friends with some of our staff, and some people were really struggling. Some people had husbands that weren't working. They were trying to be at home with young children. They had aging parents. So there was a lot of issues like that. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to plug in my computer here one second. Plug the wrong one. Good thing I caught that. Okay, so we want to do check-ins with staff. So we have weekly staff meetings that we try to be as concise as possible. We try to be as open and as transparent as we could be. We listen, we look for potential concerns. I really try to talk about what we do know, not about what we don't know. So I'm somebody that people have worked with me know I can't necessarily worry about all of the what ifs. So I try to live in the moment as much as possible. And I think it's really important that we model that calmness and that collectiveness that I have this week. It's been a little crazy, but yeah, that's really important. So we've had 2 weekly informal check-ins, and we have a tea with staff just to see how things are going. So Paul and I decided to split up the staff phone list. We have 84 staff, and to check in. I'm just going to share with you a little bit of humor, although I'm really cognizant about the time. I called one staff member, and she felt the need to email me back with her own wellness check-in report. I loved it because it made it so real to me. She told me that she's good because she's running again. I'm just going to give you a couple highlights. She's unsure about her wellness because she just completed 4,000 piece puzzles, and she's been playing Pokemon Go. And she's a little bit concerned about her well-being because she's living in track pants. She ate butter tarts in 72 hours, and she needed to make this Google Doc to verify wellness for me. I thought it was really cool that she wrote that her tech confidence is growing every day. So that leads me to one of our next things is that we knew that teachers were at all different places. So it was really important that we kind of met them where they were at on their journey with technology. So I tapped 2 very savvy tech teachers, teachers who were good with tech, and I asked them to help me, and we designed and supported Tech Tip Tuesdays every week. The input from us was very small, but I feel that the payout was huge. Staff who did not use Google Drive are now creating Bitmoji classrooms, they're using Flipgrid, and the students were being introduced to a whole new side of their teacher. So we know though that some of our staff were not able to work a regular 9 to 3 day, and we understood that, and we gave them permission that that was okay. Because we had already established some of these relationships, so much of this was possible. So what I thought was quite interesting is having to interview and hire new staff during this. So we have staff who will never meet their students. That's been pretty interesting. And it's made us have to really look at what qualities and capabilities we would like to see in a teacher. So as we continue to build this community, we have to try different things. It's been imperative that we have a growth mindset. We need to have clear expectations. I'm running out of time. Okay. So it's important, again, that we foster these relationships. So with our families, it was really, really important that they knew that we were still there. We have a very different feeling in our building because we actually have a settlement worker right in the building. And as a Catholic school, we are able to root many of our decisions and our communications in our faith. So as I've aforementioned, we deployed 175 internet devices, and we've been continuing to connect our families with the Newcomer Center and settlement workers. I have some other videos I'm just going to kind of blow through. A really cool thing that our board here did is they allowed for student and parent voice. There's a program called Thought Exchange that was facilitated by our district, and it was an important initiative that garnered a lot of interest. People were asked to respond to questions as they related to emergency remote learning, and there were thousands of comments and different levels of this feed. It was a brand new program that was brought out right now. So unfortunately, I think the access was for our tech savvy families, but it's something I'd really like to continue to look at. Our district, through Twitter, provided activities for Mother's Day, and we also had STEAM days throughout the week. We've continued to do our volunteer appreciation, and I mentioned that we've used Tools for Life and Nutrition for Learning to help our families. We've been regularly communicating through Twitter, Newswire, and school website, and we're starting to use a new program called School Messenger. One thing for next year is we need to be more consistent about this and concise and deliberative in our communication. Sorry. So wellness with leaders, let's get to us as we close this off. But I think it's really, really, really important that we all consider what are our priorities and how our priorities were determined. And I know that I'm checking myself that I'm aligning my resources with our priorities. We have our provincial and district leadership, our board improvement plans, the school improvement plans. I think ultimately nobody really knows what's happening, and we need to look after each other first. So just like if we were on an airplane, you need to look after yourselves, you need to have your trusted colleagues and friends, and we need to work together. I really believe that it's important to show gratitude to ourselves, our environment, and those that we interact with. And I think that what we've learned here is that I love Simon Sinek. I get his notes every day in my email. And ironically, this was yesterday's. And he said, you need to invest in relationships. Life is hard. None of us has the strength to do it alone. We need people to encourage and inspire us so we can encourage and inspire others. And finally, I'm just going to give you a little clip from our guy, Justin.
Hello, graduates, and congratulations. Your parents, teachers, and coaches are so proud of you, and I am too. I know this wasn't how you thought you'd make your jump to high school, but this is still an important moment for you. And it's a milestone that should be celebrated no matter what we're going through.
So we're going to use that next week in our grad. I'm a big fan of Justin Trudeau. I'm not sure if you guys are getting Trump videos sent to your schools, but this was sent to our board for us to use. And that was super fantastic. Like I said, there's a lot of things that we need to prepare for, but I think we needed to be rooted in kindness and compassion and being mindful and thinking about each other. And there's one more video clip, Roland, I'm not sure if I can get it in, that I totally want to end with. But you know, I think I went around and I delivered to my administrative friends this Corona survival kit that I amended from something I saw on Facebook. But I just think, you know, we all need to stick together. It's new territory. We're going to make mistakes. I think we're all committed to our school communities. We need to highlight one positive thing every single day. Take a breath, take a break. Remember that you're in this for the right reasons. And sometimes we just need to cry and be safe with one another. So that's kind of where I am. I have one video, Roland, I'm not sure if I can get it up here. Let me just try. But I'm not sure, but I'll put in the resources. I was just going to end, Roland, my trusted colleague who's here with us right now. He has, he did a video about his pickup yesterday, and it really touched my heart because I know that we all really, really, really do care about our schools and about our students. And, you know, it's okay. So there's the resources that I've mentioned, and then the terms that I used and how I apply them, some additional information. And yeah, thank you again for joining the summit, and I will put the link to Roland's video. So we have 4 minutes left. If you guys want to ask me any questions, please do. Okay.